Step into a world of magic and limitless possibilities with me, your host, Katie Soul. I'm not just your average podcaster. I'm a former Fortune 100 exec who dared to escape the rat race and embark on my own mystical journey. Together, we'll discover that a mystical life is not something you stumble upon. It's a life you consciously create. Join me as we explore inspiring stories of extraordinary souls who fearlessly pursued their dreams and unlocked their inner radiance. Welcome to my world, where magic awaits and your light shines bright. Good morning, Michelle. I'm so delighted to have you on the Mystical Living podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. And I'm really excited to dive into creating a mystical home with you. But before I do that, can you share with the audience a little bit about who you are behind the scenes, what they might not hear on social media, but the true you? Who are you really?
That's okay. I would say I am someone who loves to explore. So that is probably the first archetype in my life, exploring new cultures and traditions and spiritual practices. And I love to gather people and to go deep. So that's been a through line in my life since I was a kiddo, like exploring, gathering people, and then creating beauty. So that's probably really my heart. And then I can share more about my CV, et cetera.
Amazing. I love to hear what's on your heart. Speaking of which, I like to start all of our episodes with a practice that'll help us just drop out of the mind. And I always say that's where the human self lives. The fears and the worries and the to-do lists and the technology glitches and into the heart where the divine self resides. And for today's practice, what came through for me was about sound. Today, I just want everyone to get really present and start to tune in and listen to the sounds around you. Listen to what you feel coming through your eardrums. I'm currently hearing my air filter. That's what's making noise here. And it has this beautiful hum to it. It's really gentle. I just heard a bird chirp. What are you hearing over there, Michelle?
I'm hearing a mower and then chirps. We have so many birds, and it just rained this morning, so all the birds are out. Oh, a mixture.
We got some rain here this morning too, and the sun's out. It's been happening the past couple of days where it's raining and sunny at the same time. Really beautiful. I keep looking for a rainbow, and I'm thinking maybe today's the day.
I think it's going to happen.
A rainbow. And it's really that simple. It's just a little exercise to come more into presence, get more into your body, drop in and feel from the heart. It's also a great one you can do with taste or touch or smell too. Today I just picked sound. So I hope everyone enjoyed that little drop into the heart. So let's dive in now with Michelle. Okay, so I'm really curious. You have a background in psychology. You're a psychologist, and you also help people design and create these mystical spaces to live in. Tell me, how do you blend all of that together? It feels like a perfect marriage to me. But tell us a little bit about how that came to be in your life.
Absolutely. So I would say since I was a young girl, I loved decor and design. If I couldn't sleep, I would move things around in my bedroom, like move furniture, like do things to the walls. And there was always this joy in creating and creating beauty. And also in like the editing, like the clearing out. And then in college, high school and college, I was the friend that people went to talk about hard things, and followed the path of psychology and got my master's and my doctorate. So I was a therapist and a psychologist for the last 20 years. And, I think one of the major through lines in my life is like being with people in times of pain and transition and helping them walk through to transformation. So that's been consistent throughout my life. And then I thought it was the last 5 years, but it's been about 10 years that I have wanted to integrate decor and design and the cultivation of your space with how you heal your heart, how you heal your mind, how you heal relationships, all the things. I used to work in college mental health, and all of the students I worked with knew they could come in and get essential oil, and I had crystals and all the things. So I was kind of the hippie in the corner. And so I think, throughout I've loved it. And then my husband and I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio at the beginning of the pandemic, and had gone through a season of a lot of loss and change. And in that, when you have things falling away and you're also getting clarity about what matters to you, for me, medicine for me, as I was still continuing to do therapy in that season for us, it was what will help lift my spirit, what will help cultivate and nourish our home, our relationship, our future. So it really has started as something I love throughout my life, and then something that I've done consistently in our home. And now I'm offering to other people.
Yay. Oh my gosh. I love it. I don't know if I've told you this, but this home that I reside in right now, I call my healing home, because it was a home that I moved into after a really traumatic period in my life, where I was previously living in a home that was crumbling. When I was in that home, my marriage crumbled and my body crumbled and everything in my life just crumbled. So moving here to this beautiful home, it has this sort of, I live on the East Coast, but it has this sort of mystical California vibe, so much greenery and plants everywhere. And I was so intentional about every design element to create a space of healing and incorporate it feng shui and all the elements into each room. And so each room was created with this intention. And so I was so excited to talk to you today. And maybe you could give some tips for our audience too on if they are looking to create a mystical home. I know for me, it didn't happen overnight.
Probably not.
It kind of happened room by room and piece by piece. But what tips would you share that help you to bring more of you and your essence into your home?
So there are so many things. I think first it's the intention to have your home be a true reflection of you. I think so many people, the pandemic stopped us, paused us, and a gift of that is to be present in our homes, probably in a very different way, in the beauty and the pain, right? All the things. But I think now what I've seen is people want to feel more presence in their home, and they want to feel more intentionality. So what I would encourage is for someone who's like, oh, this resonates, I would like to experience more of that, to walk through your home and notice, how does it feel? Like actually be present to what is it holding? What has it been through? Because it truly is a reflection of us in this season.
Totally.
And what needs to shift? Like, what do you intend to shift? What do you want to shift? So I would say first walk through what's happening. What do you actually want? And then, in my work and on my website, it shares some more questions you can go through. And then in the work itself, you go deeper. But then looking at like, what holds energy that you no longer want in your home? So what can you give away? What can you repurpose? through the pandemic, I've painted a lot. So many rooms in my house are shades of green because that's the color of life and vibrance for me.
For anyone who can't see, the shade of green you have behind you is so gorgeous. I love it. I'm going to have to get that paint color from you.
Happy to. Happy to. Yeah. Because paint, color really, like, as you said, your home is vibrating at a totally different level, both because your intentionality, but also the colors you chose, the textures, the plants, like there's life, right? And sometimes our homes can just hold all the old energy.
Totally. I don't know about you, but I always feel like when things are getting cluttered in my house, I feel that same way in my life. And I go through a practice when sometimes I have so much going on and there's things that kids have to get places, things to do. I just pause and I have everyone clean and tidy.
Yes.
And we do this practice and it just resets the stage. And then everything else just seems easier after that. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that too?
Constantly. Actually, that has been, I would say, through the season that has been challenging and very growth inducing for us. That has been another nurturing practice for me and for our home. And I think even just looking at like, do I need all this stuff? We can accumulate when we're kind of numb and we're just like rushing through life. And so looking at like, who might actually benefit from this? Is there someone who needs it? Like, can I clear the physical space? And then that actually is perpetuating love and gratitude and so many good things, right? When you clear and you give away.
Totally. I went through that too after leaving my corporate life. I worked in fast fashion. So a big part of my job, I was in stores all the time. It was part of my job. So I was accumulating things and I did a massive cleansing of really primarily clothing. And I love clothes. But now I really am intentional about what I buy. I rarely buy fast fashion anymore. I buy quality items that are going to stay with me, that have a vibration, a frequency, and a resonance to them. And I imagine it's kind of the same with home items too, right? So do you find that when you're searching for items for a client or for yourself, you're thinking about that energy that they hold?
Absolutely. Yes. So I think one of my great joys is connecting with artists. So like seeing the beauty that you are creating. I mean, you can feel the resonance, the joy, the intention, and the holiness really in it. And I love to work with artists who are so committed and devoted to their work, and you feel it in the piece. So it could be a blanket, it could be an art piece, it could be, a painting. But I feel like being way more intentional with what we bring into our home and then what we put on our body, how we adorn ourselves, it radically shifts everything. And it also carries us through seasons of transition, right?
Totally. And it can even come down to like, I'm just thinking as we're talking, I have some cups. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but we have an overabundance of cups in our house right now for whatever reason. And I'm just really feeling the call after this conversation to do a cup cleansing. And I've been really working with my kids on this concept. Everyone's home for the summer, that you can use one cup throughout the day. And we really only drink water in our house. So I think having less cups also will help facilitate this summer goal of mine to get everyone using just one cup and having less cups to wash. And it's a simple thing, but I'm thinking that not all the cups in our house have a resonance for me. And I think I'm going to do some shedding after this call.
I love it.
And speaking of artists, your husband is an artist, which I didn't know until this morning. So tell us about how you guys sort of weave your design work with his beautiful magic too. I took a peek at his website.
Thank you.
It's so great. Also, because I have this when I was living in Europe, I have this table in my dining room that I bought in the Netherlands. It's just like the most gorgeous design, and I love it. So, but his work reminded me of this table that I have. So tell me all about this magic that he brings into the world.
Yes. Well, I'll have to tell him that because he's Dutch and part of his heritage is Dutch. And so that will just bring him much joy.
That makes sense. I'll send you a picture of my dining room table after, and you'll see the similarity.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. So it's been really an amazing journey for the two of us. He has a family lineage of being an artist. His father was a singer-songwriter in the West Village in the 60s. And I think he's always had a heart for design. And then a few years ago went through a layoff and really made space in his life for what does he want to do. He was in sales for 25 years and really was at a juncture where he was like, what do I actually want to do? And, went through some really in-depth soul work in terms of that. And so his kind of two paths are he does life coaching and really has a heart for people in transition. So we both, because we've walked it, we definitely want to support and encourage people in that path. And then also he is like such an incredible, what he creates, he's so thoughtful and intentional and precise. So he does woodworking. He has built custom tables for dear friends of ours. 5 years ago, he built a farm table for our back porch and has made some other ones since. But he just crafts these really, really lovely bespoke pieces. And he loves hearing the story of the person that he's working with and what they want to cultivate in their life. So in this work together, he and I are partnering in a few things. He's helping me with some of the business development of my new business because he's a lot more experienced in that area than I am. And then also he's a detail person where I'm a big picture person. So we can kind of balance each other in that. So I'm very excited. Our intention is that for people we work with who we do the healing intensives, and you can read more about that on the website, that we would also offer to them that they could purchase a bespoke piece that he'll craft for them, and that it really can be a symbol, the season they're moving into or the intention they want to move towards. And then I also work with other artists. So if it's more a piece of art on the wall, that there's that option as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful. We'll have to put his details in the show notes too.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. So I know that you and I have a shared passion around travel. Tell me a little bit about what travel has meant to you in different seasons of your life.
Ooh, such a good question. Travel is one of the things that fills my soul. So since I was a kid, right? I mean, and you've lived abroad. I haven't done that yet, but I'm like, someday I think,
Yeah.
But I have found, travel gets us out of our limited perspective. We learn about another culture, other traditions, other spiritual practices. We meet new people. And then I have found we find depth and commonality and sisterhood or friendship with people that live in a completely different country within a couple of days. And I don't know, that expands my perspective of what's possible in the world. So 7 years ago, I went through infertility, like the process of realizing that was the case. And it was quite painful. It was really a hard season, and it continued for a while. And one of the things that I kind of knew through that was I have to do things that feed my soul because when you're letting go of a dream, there's some choices in terms of how you walk through that. So I went on a retreat to Morocco with a dear friend and a woman who I've gone on other retreats with, and she cultivates, and her retreats are eat, pray, move. She's phenomenal. But she cultivates just really intentional, beautiful depth retreats. And so I've gone on several, and they were markers in my life in terms of moments of healing, moments of hope, new friendships. So that's been medicine for me throughout my life. And then part of this new business is to probably in 2024, start retreats. So creating a space where people can go to Morocco, do the Camino in Spain, France, even places in the States like Maine or Sedona or Santa Fe, and really bring people together who are either in a transition, who've been through a loss, who've been through something that has fundamentally changed them, and be circled with others who have been through something and have space to process that, and then have space to clarify, like, what do I actually want for my life now? Like in the rising, what do I want? And then source pieces that affirm that vision. So that's the second part of the business that will roll out likely next year.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing your vulnerability, moments in your life that were hard and challenging, and loss can impact so many. And I believe that when we share our voices, we give comfort, we give acknowledgement, we give this wisdom to somebody else who might be on a path that we once traveled. And even though we feel maybe far removed from that path, and constantly remind it right now in the season why it's important to share the dark moments and the light, because that's the world we live in, is a duality of light and darkness. And by sharing both aspects, it really helps people to know you more deeply and understand your essence and know what you've been through on your journey. So thank you for sharing the hard parts too. I really appreciate that today.
I could not agree with you more in what you said. And of course, yeah.
And to transition to that duality, there is always a lightness that comes after the darkness. And I'm curious, I ask all my guests this one question.
Okay.
I have this life motto that's follow your light, because what lights you up lights up the world. So I want to know, what does following your light look like in your life right now?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is building out this new offering. So I have wanted to do this for years, and really the germination kind of in tangible form started last summer. I was in the council with Sarah.
We were? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Sarah tonight.
Oh, give her a hug for me.
I will.
It's so powerful. So I started that, and that was really gave form to what I've desired to create. And so I would say for me, the creation of beauty, the connection and cultivation of community, the exploration in other cultures, and the walking through pain into beauty those are the things that I love. And the lift from, as a psychologist, I have walked with people through all sorts of dark. And I think what I've desired in shifting the type of work I do is to encourage people to look to the light. We have to honor what we've been through, and ceremony is important in that, and it provides space to be present to it. And then we also need to look at what do we want for our life? What do we want to create? So those things I get very excited about.
Yeah, I'm just seeing this visual emerge as you're talking of being in a dark room and the doors cracked open and the light is there. And sometimes it just takes us further opening the door so we can walk through it. And there's a beauty in both aspects of sitting in the darkness, and we can learn a lot in those times. And there's also a beauty and a joy, especially as we're recording this in summertime, to really be out in the world, be out in the light and shine. And I'm so excited for all that you're doing in the world. This is very, very fun and exciting, and I think so potent. And I really haven't heard about anyone else incorporating psychology, healing, and design together. And that's really what sparked me to reach out to talk today. Okay. So what do you love to do to come back into your heart center when you're kind of going about life and summer
Mhm.
and travel, and you need a moment to come back into your heart. What do you do?
Mm. Number of things, but I would say I did it this morning because I had a busy past weekend. I opened all the windows. My husband had called me. I was going to do kind of a dance practice. And my husband called me and he was like, there are 2 deer out in the backyard. And I am obsessed with deer, like being a Californian, moving to the East, like having deer in your yard is just magical. Like gently walked outside and then just spent some time appreciating my yard. And I always offer flowers to the land and just really appreciating that I'm here now. So that was really sweet. There were several cardinals and the deer and other birds. So just being present, was really nourishing. And then I think sound. So I have a bell that I received in Bali. And so I use that to kind of clear my body and my space. So a number of things. But I think as you started with sound, it's like, that's interesting. I did that this morning. So using that to kind of ground me and bring me back to my center.
Totally. And what's beautiful too, if you don't have a bell from Bali, which I feel like I'm going to need one of those.
You need one of those. Talk to Asha.
Talk to Asha. But one thing that you can do too is you can tone with your voice and you can hum, you can make sounds, you can sing, and it's a beautiful way, especially when you're outside, to commune with the land too. Right now, I've been just feeling called to just sit and take in the beauty. We have, because I have this amazing healing home, it comes with a lot of animals, and they seem to be a little more attracted to this piece of land than my neighbors. So we have everyone. We have everyone. We have the deer, the bunny, the turkeys, the butterflies, the dragonflies, the hummingbirds. So it's like a big animal party here right now.
Amazing.
It's amazing. And it's so beautiful just to sit. I was sitting outside this morning and I was just watching this little bunny, and it was beautiful. He kept getting closer and closer. Seemed quite young because he was tiny. And it's so nice to be able to take a pause. I lived a life where that wasn't always accessible or available. And I'm just treasuring the deep gratitude I feel right now for being able to sit outside and watch the bunny and to share that experience with my kids and to show them that we can pause, we can just enjoy what's around us. And there's so much beauty and abundance in nature. I actually shared a social post this morning on just the connection between manifestation and connecting with the earth, because I believe those things are so deeply connected. Because when we can be grateful for the abundance that's around us right outside our door, it can really cultivate an energy and a frequency that helps us to manifest things more easily into our lives. So, speaking of manifestation, what are you shared with us the retreats, but what else are you dreaming into? And they're like your really biggest dreams for how you're going to walk in the world, let's say in like the next 5 years.
Oh goodness, this is so good. It's funny. I do Ziva meditation. Have you heard of
I
that?
love Ziva. Yes.
So amazing. Emily Fletcher. She's incredible. But part of the work is that manifestation practice at the end of the meditation. And it's been like so nourishing, and it's really resonant of the work Sarah does in Circle. But I would say, my deepest desire is to transition from working. I've been doing telehealth as a psychologist for the last number of years, and I love aspects of the work, but it feels limited. And so in building this new business, really my heart is to go into people's homes, help them do really deep dive healing intensives where we look at what they're carrying emotionally, what they're carrying physically, what their home is carrying energetically, and then do a process of really clearing that and then calling in the deepest beauty for each of them. So I would love to be able to transition predominantly to that work and to be able to travel to different locations to help people in different cities in the States or elsewhere. And then to build out the retreats and I would love to do like 4 to 6 retreats a year. So I'm not overmaxed. I do need the spaciousness to continue. And then my like long-term dreams. So building those out, doing those, partnering with my husband in that, and then eventually having a retreat space where I've had this vision of an A-frame by a river with like little cabins and bringing people for, shorter retreats or individual retreats. And just having a few different modalities in my life that are joyful, life-giving, and healing people at a deeper level.
So beautiful. I see it for you, and I know it's going to happen because you're taking action, and the universe responds when we take action, sometimes in unexpected ways. So beautiful. I have a fun story. Can I share it with you?
Yes, always.
So I have this clothing line, Love Lillette, and I am starting to dream into seeing it in some stores. So far, we've just been selling it on my site, mysticalliving.co. And there's a store in Miami. It's called Curio, and it's at the Faena Hotel. Okay. And if you've ever been to Miami, it is an experience. And working in retail, I've traveled all over the world. I've been to amazing stores, but this store just has a frequency and an energy and a vibration. And I've been seeing Love Lillette on the racks. And so I know part of manifesting what we desire is taking some action, right? So I call up a friend who's in Miami, who's, kind of like knows the Miami scene. And I say, hey, do you know anyone that could connect me with the buyers at Curio or the Faena? And he says, no, I don't know anyone. I'm like, okay. So that was my masculine taking action moment. And then I surrendered it. I surrendered it into the feminine. And I said, Goddess, I'm putting this in your hands. I got a few other things I'm working on right now. I'm just going to let this sit with you. And a couple of weeks go by and a friend emails me, a different friend. And she says, hey, Katie, there's all these people on copy. What is this email? Hey, Katie, I wanted to connect you with this group. They're doing a summer-long pop-up shop in the Hamptons. They're bringing this whole store there. It's like huge, tons of square feet, this beautiful space. And it's called Curio. And it was just such a good story of manifestation and how when we take action, surrender, we work on our own energy, frequency, and vibration, the magic just happens. I've had so many stories like this in my own life recently. And I feel it's really connected to walking your purpose. When we walk our purpose, then it's a lot easier for the universe to deliver these beautiful experiences into our lap. Anyway, the story ends with me. I'm going to the Hamptons. I'm bringing the line. We're doing Meet the Designer Day. And on top of it, I also got invited to speak on a panel at an event while I'm there. And so it just all wove together so beautifully. So I'm headed to the Hamptons next week.
So fun.
I know. But I want to know, do you have any really magnificent manifestation stories that have happened in your life that you would like to share?
So funny. So I had something that I feel like is in process. It was really, I was so struck by it. Those moments, this last few years has been trust, surrender, and devotion. Those are my words through. And I'm learning just how to open up and be willing to receive, right? So I made this vision board sometime last year, and I worked with a dear friend who's an exquisite branding expert. And so she said, okay, make a short vision board for your brand. So I put one together, Pinterest images. One of the images was this house, A-frame, green A-frame by a river with light from within. And I was like, oh, that's the image I see. It's so magical. And so on the branding, whatnot, and didn't think anything of it, just like, oh, I love that someday, And last week, my dear, dear friend texted me, was like, hey, I found your house, your A-frame. And we are not in a situation where we're going to buy anything right now, unless something comes through in a really magical way, which I'm totally open to.
Really?
But it's in Northern California by a river near dear friends of ours in the wine country. And so she sends me a picture. It's the same house. It's the exact house that I'll show you a picture because I was like freaking out. Oh, now my phone's off. But it's the exact house that was on and I had no idea where this house was when I put it on my Pinterest. And it's for sale now. And so I was like, who knows how things happen, but it was a reminder that there is incredible power in getting clear on what you desire, because many people say that's your soul actually speaking to you about what's supposed to come through and into your life. So I would say it's in process, but it was really just a beautiful affirmation last week.
Okay, we're going to have to stay connected on that journey because I feel there's more magic ahead. And it's so interesting because, now we have this mutual friend, Sarah. She has a pretty profound house story. Mm-hmm. I also have a pretty profound house story. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you a glimpse into mine. Yeah. But when I was in my crumbling home and my body was crumbling, my life was crumbling, everything was crumbling in 2019, the house was literally crumbling. So we were in the process of beginning a major renovation. Never ended up happening because a whole lot of other things crumbled. But in this renovation, we were working with a great builder, designer, and I kept telling him, I have this vision for the kitchen. I can see this kitchen. And he's like, Katie, that kitchen just doesn't work here. And I'm like, no, this is my kitchen. I it's in my mind, and I'm very clear visual, I guess you could call it. So I see things often before they come into my 3D reality. Yeah. And I'm telling the guy, he's like, nope, Katie, it's just not going to work. I'm like, all right. So fast forward, life crumbles, have to sell the house, have to buy a new house. And this house comes on the market the same week that I need to buy a house. And I walk in and it's my kitchen. So the kitchen I was seeing was just not at the old house. It was a whole nother house. And so I'm a big believer when we see these things, they are meant for us. Just like when we feel these feelings or we have these desires, our dreams come to us for a reason. My dreams come to me, not to you, and your dreams don't come to me because they're not meant for you or me. They're meant for each and every one of us. And there's a reason that they were seated inside of us. And also in my vision, I saw myself hosting this book launch party. And then kind of synchronistically, I ended up writing a book in April. And it probably won't come out. It won't come out for a while, but it's about mystical living and leaving the hustle and the grind to create a mystical life, because I believe a mystical life is a life that you create. It's a life you design. It's a life you live on your terms. And it's really a combination of my story and also a how-to guide and to exit the hustle and grind mentality, and to really, by the end, it gets into using your physical vessel as a tool for your spiritual evolution too. So that's sort of happening behind the scenes. We're not talking a lot about it because it's on its journey now. And I'm just sort of remembering, so that I'm looking at my kitchen right now, and there's this corner where I saw myself holding this book, and then there were people everywhere. And this past year, I wrote a chapter in a book, and I was like, this isn't it. This isn't the book I'm holding in that corner. And then, I really was not planning to write a book. That's a whole nother story that we could have
I want to hear all the things.
An episode on.
Yes.
Actually, you want to hear them?
I do, actually. Yes.
All right.
Like, I want to hear about your line too, and how that happened.
Okay. Yes. Everything in my life is really, there's so many new patterns in the field are emerging because I took a leap and stepped off one path and stepped into my purpose. And that's why and that's what happens when you do these things. So the book is such a great story. So I guess it was maybe the end of March, and I'm on the phone with my friend Ellie Sheffy. We're on a Zoom call, just catching up, and we're talking, and I made some off the cuff comment, because this is what happens. This is what happened with my clothing line too.
I love it.
Someday I'd love to write a book. And Ellie just zoned in on that. And I think when we say it, we cast the spell. Parallel, last summer on the beach, I was circling with friends, and I said, I'm going to start a clothing line. And the spell was cast. And it just flowed. So the book story, though. So Ellie's like, well, Katie, why don't you write your book now? And I said, I don't really, how am I going to write a book? And, when would I have time for that? She said, well, Ellie actually helps people write their books. She hosts these retreats. And she's like, you should come to my retreat in August. And a bunch of women come out, and Ellie does a million things, but this is one thing that she's really magical at. And she helps you just get a process down, get an outline, and then write your book in a week. And
that's
incredible. In a week. It's so incredible. Her method is amazing. It really worked for me. If I had tried to do it on my own, who knows what would have happened. Yeah. But she gave this really thoughtful process. Anyway, by the end of the call, I'm like, wait, Ellie, I can't wait till August. I have to write my book now. And Ellie's doing a million things. She's traveling all over the world. She is a really renowned speaker, and I have to get her on the podcast too.
Yes, you do. Also her website.
So we'll put Ellie's website and all the details in the show notes too. So by the end of the call, I'm like, I gotta write it now. But she's, traveling. She's like, well, when do you want to come? And I said, well, my kids have a school vacation planned in 2 weeks, and they're going with their dad and their grandma on this trip. Do you happen to be free? And she's like, Katie, it's the only week I am home for like 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
So she's like, come on out. So I flew out to Laguna and I wrote a book in a week. Also, she lives in right overlooking the ocean. It's beautiful. Hikes and walks and swim in the ocean. And I am in love with Laguna.
It's lovely. Yeah.
It is lovely. And later came to find out on my plane ride home that my Mars and my Sun
go through there
right in Laguna, which really made a lot of sense. That was really the perfect place to write a book.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's the story of how just these crazy synchronicities happen when we follow our purpose.
Well, and something you said that for anyone listening, the listening to what is our purpose, what is our deepest desire, and then you said, take a leap. And I think that's the biggest thing is if you hear something, and I'm in the process with this, so I say that as a human on the path, but like when you hear something again and again, and your soul's telling you something, to then take that leap, that's when the universe meets you. And like Sarah has taught me that. I'm hearing that and receiving that from you today. But I think people sometimes forget that part, right? And it's scary as all get out.
I know. I have a whole chapter in the book on this, and I call it a feather, a whisper, and a brick.
Yes.
Here's how I think it works, at least in my life and in many of my clients, is you just, the intuition, it's like this feather and it just brushes by you. And it's like, did I really even hear it? Like, what did that happen? Was that feather really there? And then if you miss the feather, then it comes as a whisper and it's a little bit louder. And then if you miss both those, then in my life experience, it comes crashing down as a brick, and it's not the most fun way to evolve and create change. So at this stage in my life, I really like to try to focus in on the feeling of the feather and listening, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we're told things that feel so big and so outrageous that, like launching a podcast or birthing a school or writing a book or starting a clothing line, but you just, you got to do it.
I could not agree more. Yes.
Okay.
Amazing.
So that house, I am just so excited. We're going to have a follow-up episode to get the update. This will come out probably sometime in August. So
Okay. Amazing.
Who knows? There might even be an update we can tag along about the house. And I'm really witnessing you stepping into your big dreams. Michelle, is there anything burning on your heart that you really feel called to share?
When we step into what we feel called to, and it feels incredibly vulnerable. I don't know if you felt that, but I have felt like this so freaking vulnerable.
Every day.
Right. It's like a trust fall every day. Right.
Yeah.
And for me, like I've done this, it sounds like you've done work in a certain way for so long. You're known in that arena, et cetera, et cetera. And similarly for me. And so moving into this practice that I'm building, but I really feel like it's meant for some people. There's like the trust and the faith to offer it to the world and just trust it'll resonate for the right people. So I think, as I'm stepping into the vulnerability and practicing that in my life, I would just say if this idea resonates with anyone, if anyone feels like, oh yeah, I've been through something, my life is different, and I feel the energy held in my home, and I really want to shift it and move into the next season and evolution of my life, please reach out. I would love to connect with people. I do a short call with people to see if it's a good fit. But it's been a funny process of like, really has felt like a birthing. And there's like a sweetness and a bittersweetness, and the things birthing through me in a different way than I expected in life. Right. But there's like goodness and healing in that too. So I think it's just that if this idea resonates, please check out my website. Please reach out for a call. I'm just trusting that this is for some people out there in the world.
Me too. I know it is. And being able to combo it all together, because our homes are a reflection of where we are. And I'm sure those listening can look around and feel that right now. I really am really feeling that and grateful for where I am and what my home is reflecting to me right now. And I've been in a place where it's been reflecting brokenness too. And in those moments, knowing that there's somebody that you can call and lean on and say, hey, Michelle, I need to heal. I need to heal my body, my emotional body, my home. I need to heal my life. I'm just so grateful for what you're doing in the world. Tell everyone, where can they find you and connect? And we'll put it all in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for having me on this. This is like so fun to connect with you specifically. So my website is www.michellespoelstra.com. If you follow, I think it's basketball. There's a coach that's Eric Spoelstra, but my last name, I like sports, don't know. But Spoelstra is spelled Spoelstra. So michellespoelstra.com. And then Instagram is Michelle Spoelstra Design. And my phone number is on there, email. So if it resonates, please send me a DM or give me a call. And I just sending blessings to your whole community. And I believe we're all moving into the light. Like that's the process we're moving towards, but it means shedding on the way.
It does. Lots of shedding along the way.
Mm-hmm.
This was such a beautiful conversation, and I'm so excited for it to go live into the world.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and we'll talk soon.
Perfect. So much love. Bye.
I'm grateful for your presence on this remarkable and captivating journey today. Together, we've delved into the realms of limitless possibilities and unlocked the secrets of our true selves. A mystical life is not a mere coincidence. It's a thrilling adventure that you actively shape with intention and passion. Remember, when you follow your light, you not only illuminate your own path, but you also radiate light to the world around you. The world eagerly awaits the magic you have to offer. Follow your light and let it guide you to incredible heights.